Hello and welcome to another episode of BloombergQuint Brand Smiths, where today we're going to be discussing the future of India's poker industry beyond the pandemic. Poker is a very important and growing game in the entire online gaming space. It also has great roots offline. There are a lot of poker rooms, etc., still in the offline space. But I think thanks to the pandemic, what has happened is that online poker has really boomed and it has blossomed. And the companies that are in the online space have really grown in the past 1 year. Poker also brings considerable life skills to people. It is no longer considered a game of chance, or people no longer look down upon it. In fact, from B schools to respected institutes, a lot of professionals respect poker and see it as a way of building skills. And finally, this industry is also very, very important for India's growth and GDP because it can contribute a lot in terms of taxation, employment, etc. So today at this Bloomberg Quint Brand Smiths virtual roundtable, Beyond the Pandemic, the Future of India's Poker Industry, we are joined by three experts, three leaders from India's poker industry, and they're going to help us navigate through this entire industry, the challenges, the regulatory issues, the future promise, etc. And to start with, we have Puneet Singh, who's the co-founder and CEO of Poker Baazi. Next up, we have Mr. Shivanandan Pare Shiva, who is the CEO of Gaussian Networks. And finally, we have Mr. Amin Rozani, who is the founder of Spartan Poker. Thank you so much for being here, gentlemen. I'd like to start out by asking all of you all this question, right? We Many industries have faced very different circumstances during the pandemic. For instance, we know industries like aviation, like hospitality, have really had a very, very tough time. But many industries have also, it's been an unexpected opportunity. And for online gaming, it has definitely been so. And especially even in related areas like streaming, etc. I'd like to each of you to just give me a sense of the growth that you all saw during the pandemic, and more importantly, what did this unexpected growth really, has it taught you any lessons, given you any insights into what how this will inform your future and your plans? Because I'm sure that you all had very different plans when 2020 started, but then things moved into a completely a different gear. So Shiva, if I could start with you.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks a lot for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here. Um, for me, the journey actually started a little after the peak of pandemic in this industry. I joined ADA 52 Gaussian Networks in July. But having said that, the pandemic did teach us or made us realize that we have just scratched the tip of the iceberg as far as this industry is concerned. To me, the way we look at internally is, the market potential available or the industry size, what we are seeing today, if I were to extrapolate it over the next 10 years, I think at least 10x or 15x is a given. So for us, the one of the takeaway from pandemic, the growth we witnessed during the pandemic is that poker is just beginning in the country, right? Yeah, that's how I would like to put it.
What about you, Puneet? And after Puneet, maybe Amin would like to give us his perspective.
Uh, what this pandemic, first of all, has taught us that, you can never plan a future. You plan something and then things go, completely haywire. You always need to be ready for the situation and need to also adapt to the situation very quickly. What it has really taught us, is that one, like, Shivan said, that poker is just about to grow. It's we just started, the growth journey just started. It is, we can easily see almost 2x growth year on year from here on. That is the potential which India has as of now. In terms of how we coped up with being a technology company, and a gaming as well as a tech company, we really adapted it pretty fast. We started working on the other variants within the poker itself, maybe just a free gaming app, so that we knew at this time we're not only targeting the regular players, but we're also targeting the recreational players, which have are now sitting at home and have some time, and you would ideally want them to also start playing this beautiful sport, poker, which is really a mind sport. So we started having free to play games of poker in itself. Started building a lot of content around it, so that you can really show the content to the users and explain them how this beautiful game is, and really educate them to come and play poker. So I think we were able to do that, and that really reflected in our company's growth also in these tough times.
What about you? I mean, how did Spartan Poker really experience this time, and what are the insights that y'all have gained from this time of growth?
Right, right. Well, pretty much in line with what Puneet and Shivanandan shared. We've also had similar learnings. But apart from that, what we also learned is how to work from home, how to manage our processes and make it scalable. That in case if this environment or this uh, work style continues, how do we scale up from here? What we also learned is that now the expectations of the customer is increased, because the entire digital ecosystem has expanded, and pretty much all the competition, all the competitors, they've been investing heavily in tech and innovation, and what it what it made us understand is that if we need to be in the race, we need to be as competitive. So yeah, a wide range of learnings.
So, I mean, building from that, right? I want to ask you, number one, obviously, growth is going to maybe. I mean, you all will certainly grow, still grow extremely fast. That's how gaming on online gaming is. But it will definitely be slower as compared to what how you all grew during the pandemic. So, what is the growth that you all have planned for? And secondly, how do you see perceptions really changing when it comes to poker, right? Because I'm sure initially, of course, initially a lot of Indians wouldn't really know what poker is. It's they're still fairly new to it, but really, it's a game of skill, and also some experts say that it helps you build skills even in areas like investing, etc. There are skills that you can apply from poker. So what's your take on that?
Right. Well, yes. Uh, of course, we understand that the growth what we saw during the lockdown has to kind of stabilize once things get normal. But at the same time, we are happy that a lot of new consumers have started using apps. They've started replacing their their local shopping to shopping through app, their restaurants to ordering food online, their entertainment to digital entertainment, and maybe even their gaming to digital gaming. So we're happy that the ecosystem has increased, and now we have a much bigger pool to convince to play on our platforms. Uh, so yes, to the answer to your first question, that yes, we acknowledge and we understand that the pace of growth may not be as much as it was during lockdown, and of course we planned and made our business plans accordingly. To your second question about poker game being a game of skill, I guess it has been acknowledged by a lot of authorities, a lot of federations, self-regulated bodies, a lot of media houses like one like yourself, all have acknowledged the amount of skill and helped us even communicate the skill factor to the audience. And Of course, we from where we have started this journey, we've seen probably a 10,000% growth in acceptability and people understanding the sport and recognizing it as skill. And we understand that it's a journey. Poker is very new. It's a very young sport. Maybe another few years, and we should be able to reach to a much wider audience.
Um, Shiva, I hope it's okay if I call you Shiva.
Oh yeah, Shiva is one. Shiva is how I am.
Yeah, yeah. So, Shiva, how do you really ensure that the industry can come together and focus more on the skills aspect, right? Because that is again, perception is often the big problem in India when it comes to online gaming. One, of course, people consider it a waste of time, etc. Not realizing that sometimes gaming can even be a career, right? So, how do you really ensure that the industry can bring skills front and center and ensure that more and more people realize what poker is all about?
So if you look at most of the games, and especially poker, falls in the category which uh, relies on your mental ability to calculate or remember, right? When I say remember, it is memory, it stimulates memory, right? And when I say calculate, it is leading to a strategy of how you play the game, right? Now these two elements go a long way in developing your life skills or your ability to deal in different situations, right? So that is where, if I were to address your first part of uh, can this also lead to betterment in your own way in your life or in your financial discipline or financial investments, right? So these two elements become very, very important in our life, in our day-to-day life, right? So poker as a game requires a mental ability to remember or to calculate, through which you strategize, right? That's one element which from a whether it can become your mainstream career kind of thing. We have great examples here in terms of our own players. We just started Adaptive started game ambassador concept, where Kunal Patni is our game ambassador, and we have seen that he was a private banker who moved and who is now a full time poker player. So he spends, I think it's a, I would not like to call it as a 9 to 10. It is probably 24 hours kind of time he spends on the game, right? So that's how the game has evolved. That's how people have started adopting.
Thank you, Shiva. Anything you'd like to add to that, Puneet, from your perspective?
Yes, sure. When we started way back in 2013, that was the time when we were, really struggling to get the perception correct among among the viewers, among the people who like playing poker. Frankly, the biggest pain, difficult and the pain point for us was to convince our own family that, look, we want to do something in poker. It's a game of skill, though it involves cards, but, it's not a game of chance, it's a game of skill. And then we really need to understand the definition of what is skill and what is chance, and how does the law of India see it. Now, when we talk about a game of chance, it says any game in which the element of chance over skill is at a higher percentage. But when we talk about what is a game of skill, a game of skill is a game in which skill is predominance over chance. So there definitely can be some element of chance, like in, if you talk about poker, distribution of cards is something which is not in someone's hand, but that will not decide the outcome of a game. And that is what we have learned, and we have so many I would say books on poker, so many I would say paperwork which has been done on it. So that is what is only proves it, not theoretically but also practically. We have seen that so many business schools all around the world, including in India, IIM Kozhikode uses poker to teach management students how how to make the correct decisions. Similarly, if you talk about the other universities in the world, you have the Kellogg Management School, which has inducted poker as to build leadership and strategy confidence among the users. You also have a very senior Harvard professor named as Charles Nesson, who who has conducted various webinars and seminars on how poker is a game of skill. What are the elements of skill which are required to play a game of poker? Focus, mathematics, logic, emotion management, bankroll management. And then we also have seen many greats comparing poker to the likes of investing in stock markets as well, because there are a lot of similarities between the two. You need to have a long term vision. Only knowledge is not important, but applying that knowledge is very important. Sometimes we all know what needs to be done, but very few are able to apply it. So saying that, now that we have enough research as well as paperwork saying that why poker is a give of skill, we have seen that perception also changing in the past almost 6 years since we have started Pokerbazi. We have seen a huge change in the perception of the people. We have also seen likes of Vishwanathan Anand comparing poker to chess, that how it involves that kind of applicability in terms of stats, mathematics, and so on. So I think the growth has just started. We have a long way to go.
Thank you for putting it so eloquently, Puneet. So, I mean, I think one of the things that was referred to is also the really the regulatory part, and I'd like to spend a little bit of time on that, because ultimately in India, that part decides a lot about where your business is headed, potential, etc. So, can you tell me a little bit about the employment potential and the taxation potential from poker, and what do you all see as an industry when you all speak to the government? Do they understand that? Do they encourage you? And what more needs to be done?
Right, sure, sure. Well, yes, of course, it's a growing space, and we are always in need of people, in need of talent, be it tech, be it marketing, or be it any other skill set required. Uh, and I'm guessing pretty much I can speak for other poker companies as well, that they are also always aggressively scaling up. So in terms of employment, yes, we definitely are right there. In terms of taxation, of course, quite correlated to the business numbers. The better we do, the better tax we are able to pay to the government. Uh, and in terms of regulations, honestly, we've always got uh, positive and motivating responses from the government. They've always supported us, be it the center, be it state. Uh, and we're very positive that very soon we should have a firm or a more concrete framework from the government.
What about you, Puneet? What would you say? Is there anything lacking in the regulatory landscape side that you wish the industry would have? And also, how does the industry really mature in terms of business models? Right, you all have seen growth, and obviously, you all are still expecting great growth, but you all need to move towards a highly profitable and a valuable business model, and which is absolutely essential as for large foreign players, etc., to come in to invest more, etc. So, what are the regulatory framework ingredients that are really required for that?
What we really need to understand over here is the world has changed. The laws in India, when we talk about under gaming, that law is still the the laws of the 19th century, early 19th century, when internet was not there. Gaming and gambling comes under the state specific subject, which is not possible when you are having it online. Now there are two main things which we need, and the good and the very good thing is that the government is actively trying to address the issue. There are two big pain points. One is we need a central law when it comes to gaming, since it can no longer be a state specific subject, since the boundaries are online and it's not something being played physically. Then we need to address the direct and the indirect taxes. Direct taxes being the TDS, and the indirect taxes being the GST. We have seen a lot of the individual states recognizing poker as a game of skill, but what we need is a uniform central policy from the government, regulating the game. What will also help that is that will not only help the existing players grow, but would also give a lot of confidence to the investors to come in and invest in this industry, because you have a set of clear guidelines laid by the government. So that that factor which is there, which is not, maybe it will be there, it will not be there, that futuristic thing, that needs to be laid down pretty clearly. We have already seen that the government has formed a body in terms of a GST body to look at what should be the right rate at which the GST should be applied. In terms of direct taxation, there is a huge potential by the industry is already giving 30% TDS on the winnings of the players. But what we need from that is, we need to recognize it as a sport and put that as a professional income rather than a gaming income. Because we talk about poker being a professional sport. We have seen professionals, we have seen so many, we have the World Poker Series which happen in the Vegas every year. You have more than 10,000 players participating from all over the world over there. People take poker as a profession. Very recently in 2019, the Supreme Court of Israel, which also, the gaming laws of India and Israel are very much similar. They had clearly, in a landmark judgment, stated that the income of poker players would be considered as professional income, and therefore professional tax would be applied on them, and not as a gaming income. So I think we just need certain regulatory clarifications from the government at the central level. Once we have that, and like I told you, that we have seen that the government is very actively working on the same. We have seen Niti Aayog coming up with the draft guidelines to regulate fantasy sport as of now, but we as an industry body have sent several representations to them, that to look at as a combination of all sports and not just one sports. So we are pretty sure that it should happen in the near future, and once that is there, that will automatically lead to a very very big growth of the poker industry. A lot of FDIs, investments coming, a lot of job creation as well. You would see a lot of, instill, if we talk about, we see a lot of job opportunities in the online poker industry as of now. Whether it's from a game developer perspective, whether it is from from a content writer perspective. You have so many content writers coming up. Then there is also a lot of streaming happening, so you have people coming up in this industry as well. So it's not just the gaming industry which would benefit, but also the ancillary professions which are related to it would also benefit once there are clear guidelines and regulations from the central government.
So, Shiva, just wanted to quickly throw that to you, but in a slightly different light. Y'all obviously do more than just poker, and I have a lot of other gaming, etc. So, when you look at it from a consolidated perspective, what is your view on regulation, etc.?
Over the last 3 decades, we have seen that regulatory bodies have been a little behind the consumer adoption of business models. From that aspect, industries have evolved in last 2 decades, as we see, who those industries were never recognized by the regulatory bodies, or they were never considered as part of the organized industry. So, I'm looking at gaming, our industry, where probably taxi hailing or food delivery apps or industries were at least 8, 10 years ago from a regulatory perspective. We have seen this. In those industries also different pockets emerged as pockets of resistance, right? And government then realized the benefit of it. At the end of the day, the question is, are consumers getting entertained? Right? The time being spent by people on each of our platforms, whether it is Amin's platform or Puneet's or my platform, is also from an entertainment perspective as well, right? And they're definitely getting their time's worth. Let me put it that way, by spending their time here. And now I'll come to the exchequer point or the commercial point from the government, right? If it's very hard to guess, but if I were to extrapolate the today's market size and say 10 years down the line, it's going to be 10x. It's going to be at least between 15 to $20 billion, and that's the industry we are looking at. The math is very out, right? What kind of tax revenues are we talking here, then, right? This is going to be one of the very, very recognized big industries, as we see that the time spent on intangibles has increased since the internet penetration has increased, right? So that is one thing. Second, in the initial stages, in the initial phases, these are very investment heavy business models, which the consumer internet businesses thrive on, right? This attracts great amount of investment. This needs great amount of investment. A lack of regulatory framework dissuades investors from coming here and investing. That's a loss from a pure economy perspective, because that investment leads to great amount of employment generation, right? So that's how I would sum. In terms of, I think, how the regulatory framework, I think Puneet, my friend here, has already covered it in detail, in terms of we all, as an industry, as players of the industry, we are all looking up to government to create a central framework so that we don't have this regulatory ambiguity. Every day morning when we get up, we don't know where are we headed from a regulatory framework perspective. And that kind of uncertainty is not good for any nascent industry. That's how I would submit.
Great. So, I wanted to quickly come down to the industry itself, right? And how y'all can cooperate more, etc. So, I wanted to really check on, there is, as you put it, Shiva, yesterday, there is liquidity of money and liquidity of users, and but cooperation really goes a long way in terms of not just competing but cooperating, especially in the area of fraud. For instance, players who could have nefarious intent, etc. Right. So, what is the industry doing about cooperating on this? Puneet, would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, all three of us, Amin, Shivan, Shiva, and myself are a part of All India Gaming Federation, which is a self-regulated federation consisting of all the major poker players in the country. So we have a charter in place, which we all follow, and those charters have been vetted by, the ex-Chief Justice of, Bangalore, and who was also the ex judge of the Supreme Court, and the other, I would say, retired IAS and IPS officers. So we know that we want to, we are doing things in the absolute correct manner in terms of how a regulated industry would work. Saying that, we also understand that there are a lot of threats, right from, because we are online, there would be a lot of security threats as well. There would be a lot of threats in terms of, unfair play by the users and so on. So this federation is a forum where we come and try and share the important data, which we feel that maybe this is something which we have experienced, but we want, the some of our other players in the industry, we would want to share with them so that they don't experience such problems and likewise we also get data from their point as well, in terms of which are users which are doing some kind of frauds, or are not the right set of users. Then maybe some if there is, if we feel that there can be a potential security threat which can be there. So I think this kind of information is very essential in today's world to share, and this is something which you're already doing, and we hope that we would continue to do it going ahead as well.
So y'all are working towards building or y'all have built a framework of competing yet cooperating. That is great to know. I want to just drill down a bit into the security part, because that is often a huge concern, and especially because much of it is related to digital payments, etc. There are fraud. There is fraud that happens there. Plus, there is, of course, the risk of issues like ransomware and all of that, which are also very, very huge today. So, I'd like to just maybe ask you all what you all are doing on that front to really assuage users that that is something they really don't need to worry about, that the platforms have taken care of it to the extent that is possible. I mean, would you like to comment on that from an industry perspective?
Yes, you're right. Of course, the initial days when we started off, we you know we came across a lot of challenges in building a much more secured system, and making sure there are no leakages, because at the end there is money involved. And uh, and time and again, we've got the best teams forward to make our systems more stronger, have our firewalls better, move to more secured servers. uh, and again, as as technology grows to secure, of course, technology also grows to again entice us to get better and secure our systems better. So yeah, it's a constant learning. uh, uh, and I guess it's a journey again to evolve in that area as well.
So, Shiva, coming down just to technology itself, one is I'd like to ask you about security too. But moving beyond just security, what are the coming technology innovations? And keeping in mind, of course, that everything is this entire industry, the foundation is driven by technology. I guess if 4G weren't there, this industry would not grow to where it is, right? So many other industries also. For instance, you referred earlier to the ride hailing apps, the food delivery apps. All of them have been dependent on uh, telecom technology, 4G, etc. So, with the coming technology innovations, especially with the rise of VR, etc., how will the the customer experience of or the game experience really improve? How do you see it attracting new users? And also, what are some of the security risks that will come, and how will you all deal with that?
So, so the way technology adoption scales exponentially with the penetration levels of telecom going. We have seen this. I think I would give credit to again Geo in terms of how it boosted across board mobile adoption, and by virtue of that, gaming itself. Right. That's the way we look at it. The way I would look at it from a consumer and tech perspective, whether it is VR, whether it is AR, there are two essential things which it needs to do for the consumer. I mean, it needs to reduce friction. When I say friction, it needs to reduce the number of clicks, or it should become very, very seamless for the user to do whatever activity the app or the product or the business wants him or her to do. For example, in our case, it is gameplay, right? So gameplay has to be very, very smooth, and for the user to reach to gameplay, it should be extremely simple and easy, right? Now, whether that's one element. That is where technology and the product guys are pushed, and we would like them to solve that problem. The second is there are innovations which keeps coming on the technology, wherein VR or AR comes in play. Right? Human beings tend to be, to my mind, it's more of a physical mindset, right? Especially the card game. All these technology to us, for us, it should enable user to experience this game the way he or she would have experienced in the real world. The game itself has, as my friends here, co-panelist Amin and Puneet both explained, right? There is a great amount of memory, skill in terms of or emotional, or trying to gauge emotional movement of eyes, emotional uh, reactions to a particular way the cards would have come. And this is what makes the game extremely fun. That is why this industry still, the offline industry still is thriving. If you look at any of the poker rooms offline, also people go. Today it is pandemic, so they are not able to go. But if you look at in states where card rooms are allowed or where poker rooms are allowed, people would still like to go and have a game there. Why? It's because that particular experience, right? Any technological movement or technological innovations which comes in, to my mind, it should facilitate that for an online user. That's how I would put it, right? Now coming to the security angle, there are the two aspects to it. One is basic inertia from users to make an online transaction. I think majority wise, I mean, over the last 3-4 years, most of the population in India, the educated populated or people who use mobile, have grown about this or have overcome this psychological barrier about paying online. And I think that's where government's UPI initiative, BMAP has, or the digital push has created a great amount of awareness also, and acceptance to this mode of payment. The second element is how secure is the platform on which I'm going to make the payment, right? That's an individual effort of giving that comfort. And this is, again, the first point which I said, reduction of friction would go a long way to build trust on the platform. And in terms of, we are on a constant threat. As Amin was telling, it's an ongoing process of trying to beat somebody who is trying to hack the system, right? And that race is a continuous race across the country, across the world, across all technology firms. Sometimes they would take one step lead from from our engineers, and our engineers would go and then solve it and then ensure that there are sufficient safety walls built, which ensures that uh, money is safe of the users.
Thank you. My final question to you all before I sort of try and bring it to a close. And Puneet, I want to throw this to you. 5G is on the anvil. In fact, every day we see more and more phones saying that they are 5G enabled here, and we're very clear that maybe in about 6 months to a year, 5G will become a reality, and especially so in the metros. So, how do you really see 5G transforming the growth of the industry?
No, like my friend Shiva had mentioned, thanks to Geo, when we could see the internet penetration going to tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Apart from Geo, it's the mobile phones which are now available in the market. Even cheaper mobile phones, within the bracket of say 5,000 to 10,000, have good I would say systems or good CPUs, so that they can have those that good experience while playing those games. So with the 5G coming in, I think it would give another big boost to the gaming industry. Reason being that if we have those 5G along with the right phones which can have that 5G integrated and can give that kind of a experience to a user, that seamless experience which we always want. Like my panelist had mentioned that a user wants a flawless experience. He wants an experience as close to as playing real when you're playing online. So I think this 5G would really help product companies like us to make those products in a way which, with the help of 5G, which, we can give the experience to a user, of as good as playing on a live poker room, maybe through VR, through AR. But I think all these things, if we start working on, 5G would play a really, really essential role.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. Finally, I just wanted to ask each of you all as we close, how do you look forward, to the next 1 year? And just to close this thing, where do you see poker going in the next year? What do you look forward to? And what are the opportunities and the challenges you see? So, just quick closing points from each of you. I mean, if we could start with you.
Sure, sure. Like Puneet and Shivanandan earlier mentioned that poker's just begun in the country and there's a long way to go. We're barely less than a decade old in India, and I guess the youth loves it. And with digital platforms, we should be able to reach to quite a larger audience. So from where we see in the next 10 years for poker is brilliant. Is a lot of catching up to do. Uh, in terms of challenges, of course, like you yourself mentioned, regulations and perception, uh, which I believe any new product, which or more quite a few products which come from the West to India goes through this journey. So I guess we also have to live through it. Uh, but again, there's been constant effort and there's been teams around working towards it. So we're very confident that we'll get there sooner.
Puneet, last words from you.
No, I think, like all of us have said many times in this interview as well, that we see, it's just the beginning for poker to grow. I'm very sure, with the potential which India has, and the gaming developers which India has, we can definitely see a world class poker product coming from India and competing with the likes of best in the world. I think that is where, we see, our company, or poker companies in India giving those world class products. As far as the regulations are concerned, I think government is actively looking into it, and we are quite positive that in couple of years, 1 or 2 years down the line, we should have a clear regulation around the same. And once that is there, we would see a huge investment flow, maybe domestic investors investing, or international investments coming in India, and that would eventually lead and contribute to GDP of the country as well, to a large extent.
Shiva, your take, please. Your final take on this.
I mean, we are very bullish that poker over the next 5 to 10 years is going to be part of Indian pop culture, especially from the youth point of view. The youngsters are adopting it. People who are youngsters who are exposed to the Western world, who have ambition to move abroad, study, they know the value of poker, and in breaking ice in those hostels, right, in those universities when they land there. And that's a part of growing awareness. We believe in next 5 to 8 years it will be part of the Indian youngsters pop culture or the mainstream pop culture. On the challenges, I think regulatory is a matter of time. We have seen this in e-commerce. We have seen this in ride-hailing apps or taxi-hailing apps. Regulatory is a matter of time, wherein government appreciates what this industry is bringing to the table, what they are doing. The larger challenge would be that I think we're going to see a lot of competition now. We're going to see a lot of competition. That would mean specifically we have to be on the ball. We have to be on our toes. That is because as an industry, I think here everybody would agree that last 10 decades were under the radar. We have been operating without such. I mean, once it becomes or starts to becoming mainstream play, competition increases, consumer will be becoming more and more demanding. So that would mean that we have to innovate fast or we may just perish. Right? So that is a larger requirement, I would say. And that's the fun of once the competition increases, once the consumer awareness increases, consumer becomes discerning or asks or demanding, and that's where we all as teams get our kick of being pushed to deliver to them what they want. Yeah, that's how I would say.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much. I think you all brought in so many great perspectives. I myself learned so much, and I'm sure that our audiences would too. They would gain a far greater understanding of this industry, how you all went through the pandemic, how you all are planning for the future, the competing yet cooperation part, how you all are building security, and of course, I guess it is par for the course that regulation will get streamlined. India has a government that's focused on ease of business, so hopefully that'll get done. But ultimately, I think what Shiva put, I'd like to take that as the bottom line, right? I think lot more players are going to come. This is going to become a far more richer ecosystem, especially as technology evolves, as 5G comes, and there's going to be far more competition. And I think that is going to be great for the industry and more importantly for the players. And I think overall we're looking at a very, very bright future. So thank you once again, Puneet, Amin, and Shiva. Thank you for the insights that you brought to this conversation, and thank you for being part of the BloombergQuint Brandsmiths Beyond the Pandemic, the future of India's poker industry, a virtual roundtable. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here.